You know, I've seen so many people, maybe even yourself, grinding day after day, pouring everything into their work, only to watch others who seem to cut corners rise faster and earn more. It's frustrating, right? Like life's playing a cruel joke. You wonder, am I missing something? Why doesn't my hard work pay off? The truth is, this isn't just bad luck or failure on your part. Society's story about hard work and fairness? It's a comforting lie. We've been taught to believe that effort equals reward, but the system is built differently. It rewards something else entirely: power, strategy, control. So before you drown in frustration or guilt, let's explore what's really going on beneath the surface. Stick with me, and I promise you'll see your struggles and your potential in a completely new light. This is the kind of truth that can change everything. The myth of reward for effort. From the moment you were a kid, you've been fed the same story. Work hard and success will naturally follow. It's drilled into us like gospel. If you just put in the effort, you'll get your reward. But here's the kicker. Life rarely plays out that way. You know the type. The ones who cut corners, talk more than they work, and master the political games climb faster. Meanwhile, you're grinding, clocking long hours and still watching your paycheck stay stubbornly small. So what gives? What did you do wrong? Or maybe that's the wrong question entirely. Perhaps the real question is, what lie did they feed me? This belief that sheer effort leads to success is comforting, but also a trap. Imagine a factory floor, where the hardest workers sweat and toil while supervisors barely lift a finger. The hardworking employee feels morally superior, thinking, I deserve more. But the system isn't designed to reward sweat. It's designed to reward power and perception. Ever noticed how the guy who schmoozes the boss, sends slick emails, and plays office politics ends up promoted? You might think, well, I'm honest and work harder. But honesty and effort alone don't pay the bills or secure your place at the top. Psychologically, this myth serves a purpose. It keeps people hopeful, motivating them to keep pushing despite burnout and frustration. But it also fuels a silent despair, the gnawing feeling of being invisible and unvalued. It's like running on a hamster wheel that only speeds up the longer you run. You start to wonder if the system is broken or if you just lack the secret sauce. Spoiler alert, the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as intended. But before we jump ahead, think about this. How long will you stay trapped in a game rigged against you, simply because you believe in a moral myth? Take, for example, the American corporate grind. Plenty of workers pull 60, 70 hours a week, exhausted and undervalued, while middle managers network, delegate, and reap the rewards. Or look at family businesses in India, where the eldest son works himself to the bone, but the relative with political connections secures the real power and wealth. It's the same story everywhere. Effort gets romanticized, but power wins. It's a cold truth many refuse to admit because admitting it means questioning the foundation of everything we've been taught. So what's really at stake here? It's not just your paycheck or promotion. It's your sense of justice, your belief in fairness. When you hold on to the idea that hard work equals reward, you unknowingly consent to your own servitude. You become a cog convinced that loyalty and sweat will protect you. But what if loyalty is just a leash? What if the praise you get is a cunning distraction, a pat on the back that keeps you running, but never breaking free? Imagine a man weighed down by this invisible burden, a man who's been sold a dream that turns into a nightmare. Every failed raise, every ignored idea chips away at his spirit. Yet he keeps showing up, believing that if he just doubles down, the tide will turn. How long will he wait before he starts asking the right questions? Before he realizes that maybe the reward was never meant for him in the first place? And that brings us to a dangerous truth hiding just beneath the surface. The lie of moral labor is not just an innocent mistake. It's a carefully constructed story with a purpose. A story that keeps the powerful comfortable and the workers compliant. So when did you last stop to ask, who's really benefiting from your sacrifice? And what if it's not you? As we peel back this illusion, the next chapter will reveal why the system isn't broken. In fact, it's designed to function exactly like this. The system isn't broken. It works this way. You've been led to believe that hard work and moral virtue naturally lead to success. But what if this belief isn't a flaw in the system? What if it's the very design of the system? Nietzsche reveals this myth as a trap, a spiritual cage disguised as morality. The celebration of sacrifice and humility isn't about lifting you up. It's about keeping you obedient, restrained, and manageable. Have you ever stopped to wonder why those who truly follow all the rules and give everything rarely rise to the top? The system rewards a different currency: power, influence, control, not your sweat or sacrifice. Could it be that the virtue of hard work is actually a convenient mask that hides the real forces at play? What price do you pay for buying into this illusion? Look around. Those who shout loudest about their loyalty and grind the hardest often remain stuck. Meanwhile, others who navigate office politics, master the art of influence, or manipulate perception quietly accumulate rewards. Is it really fair? Or is fairness a story told to keep you focused on effort rather than outcome? How much longer will you accept this quiet betrayal? Consider how the system celebrates your sacrifice in speeches and motivational quotes, but rarely in your paycheck or status. Is this praise a genuine reward, or a clever way to distract you from the harsh truth that the system's gears turn in favor of those who wield power, not virtue? Does your exhaustion fuel their control more than your success? The idea that obedience and humility are noble traits is a spiritual anesthetic. It dulls your senses to the reality that you're being shaped to fit a role, the tireless worker who doesn't ask questions. Nietzsche's insight cuts deep. This moral code isn't about goodness, it's a tool for submission. Can you feel the weight of this invisible chain? Ask yourself, who benefits when you accept sacrifice as your badge of honor? If the system rewarded merit and effort fairly, why does history tell a different story? How many brilliant, hardworking people have been sidelined because they refuse to play the power game? Are you unknowingly cheering for your own silence? This realization is unsettling because it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about loyalty and morality. The hard worker is praised publicly, but often punished privately. Is your belief in the morality of labor a kind of spiritual conditioning designed to keep you complacent? When will you start questioning the real rules? Ultimately, Nietzsche pushes us to see the system not as broken, but as perfectly crafted to keep the many in line while empowering the few. The reward for hard work is rarely material. It's obedience itself. So the question isn't why the hardest workers earn the least, but why we keep believing they should. What will it take for you to wake up? The value lies not in what you produce, but in what you control. Why is it that the person on the factory floor producing tangible goods every day struggles to pay bills, while a CEO or investor makes millions without lifting a finger? The answer shakes the foundations of what you believe about work and value. The system doesn't reward output or effort. It rewards control over resources, people, and perception. The question becomes, are you a creator or a pawn in someone else's game? Imagine the worker who builds cars versus the shareholder who owns the factory. The former's labor is limited by time and stamina. The latter's power scales endlessly through capital and influence. Does this feel just? Or is it evidence of a deeper imbalance where your sweat buys wealth for others, while you're left with crumbs? How many times have you felt invisible despite your indispensable role? Control is the ultimate currency in this system, far beyond physical labor or skill. Influencers shape desires and opinions. Investors manipulate markets. CEOs steer entire industries. Their power multiplies because it is rooted in ownership and authority, not effort. Are you trapped chasing productivity, while others quietly amass invisible leverage? What if your labor is only valuable because it can be controlled? Think about scalability. Your physical work is finite and easily replaced, but influence and control can grow exponentially, creating wealth beyond any individual effort. If the system prizes scalability over hard work, what does that mean for your place in this hierarchy? Are you building something that grows beyond yourself? Or simply exhausting your limited resources for a fixed reward? This imbalance breeds frustration and disillusionment. The harder you push, the more the system extracts, without expanding your own power. Are you unknowingly feeding a machine designed to keep you busy but powerless? And how much longer will you tolerate being a cog while others pull the strings? What would it take to break free from this dynamic? Now reflect on how much energy is spent producing versus how much is spent influencing. The worker's effort is visible but confined. The controller's influence is invisible but pervasive. Does this hidden power dynamic shape your reality more than your actual contributions? How often do you notice who really holds the cards behind success and wealth? Nietzsche's lens reveals a brutal truth. The real winners aren't those who work hardest, but those who seize control. This challenges your identity. If you've measured your worth by your productivity, what happens when the system values control above all? Can you redefine success not by effort, but by autonomy and leverage? This chapter forces a reckoning. The value of your work isn't set by your hands or hours, but by your position in the power structure. The question shifts. Will you remain a replaceable producer, or begin cultivating influence and control? What steps will you take to move from serving the system to commanding your own destiny? If what I'm sharing so far is hitting home for you, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button and like this video. This way, you won't miss the rest of these powerful insights that can completely change how you understand yourself and your energy. Trust me, mastering this can be a total game changer. Morality as a tool of control. Have you ever stopped to ask why society praises suffering and obedience as virtues? Nietzsche called this the slave morality, a system that glorifies weakness, submission, and sacrifice, turning them into noble traits. But why would anyone design a morality that holds you back instead of lifting you up? Is it possible that this moral code wasn't created for your freedom, but to keep you under control? This moral framework teaches you to endure hardship quietly, to obey authority without question, and to value humility over ambition. The obedient worker is celebrated, paraded as an example of virtue, yet this exaltation is deceptive, a strategic tool that ensures you remain compliant and distracted from challenging the system. Could your so-called virtues actually be chains? Think about how many times you've been told to stay humble, put others first, or accept your lot. These are not accidental messages. They're psychological levers designed to suppress rebellion. What if your pain and exhaustion aren't badges of honor, but symptoms of a system that profits from your submission? How often does this morality mask injustice as righteousness? This system rewards power, but it needs the majority to accept powerlessness. By framing submission as moral superiority, it pacifies the restless spirit inside you. Is your conscience really guiding you, or is it echoing a voice implanted by society to keep you from seeking real freedom? When did suffering become your duty, rather than a signal to break free? Psychologically, this creates a dangerous paradox. The harder you suffer, the more moral you feel, but also the more trapped you become. The self-sacrificing worker might feel pride, but underneath lies frustration and resentment. Could this be why so many hardworking people end up exhausted and bitter? Are you sacrificing your vitality on an altar that doesn't value you? Nietzsche's critique forces us to question whether our moral ideals serve our growth or maintain the status quo. If morality keeps you obedient, then how do you reclaim your agency? What does it mean to reject moral labor and instead seek power, autonomy, and authentic self-expression? Are you ready to dismantle the lies you've been told? This moral code acts like a tranquilizer. It dulls your hunger for change and teaches you to accept your place without revolt. But what happens when that numbness wears off? When the illusion fades and the pain of being controlled becomes unbearable? Will you find the courage to break the cycle, or remain shackled by a morality that profits from your chains? In the end, recognizing morality as a tool of control is the first step toward liberation. It doesn't mean abandoning ethics or becoming ruthless, but learning to see which morals serve you and which serve the system. Will you continue to wear the mask of noble suffering? Or will you reclaim your power and redefine what true virtue means for your life? The comforting illusion of justice. From childhood, you were fed a comforting lie. The world is just. Do good, work hard, and good things will happen to you. This belief, often called the just world fallacy, soothes your mind amid hardship. But what if this illusion is the real trap? How many times have you sacrificed everything, only to see others reap rewards without earning them? Could your faith in fairness be blinding you? This myth acts like a psychological balm, giving meaning to suffering and delay. When life deals unfair blows, the belief that justice will prevail helps you endure. Yet this hope can turn into a chain, anchoring you to a system designed to exploit your patience. Ask yourself, Is waiting for justice to arrive worth the years you lose to disappointment? Look around. Power rarely falls into the hands of the deserving. CEOs, politicians, and influencers thrive not because they played fair, but because they mastered manipulation. Meanwhile, those who grind daily remain stuck, hoping the system will notice their virtue. Why is meritocracy often just a slogan? Could the idea of justice be a lie crafted by those in power? Psychologically, believing in a just world keeps cognitive dissonance at bay. You want to believe the universe is fair, or else pain feels meaningless. But what if the universe doesn't owe you fairness? Does clinging to this myth prevent you from seeing the truth, that survival and success depend on power, not virtue? Are you ready to face that harsh reality? The illusion of justice also breeds complacency. If you trust that good behavior will be rewarded eventually, you might avoid necessary rebellion or strategic thinking. How many times have you stayed silent or played by the rules, waiting for your just reward, only to be passed over? Could this trust in justice be the system's greatest weapon against you? Nietzsche would argue that the idea of justice is a comforting fable that keeps the oppressed pacified. It convinces you that suffering is temporary and that patience will pay off. But history is full of stories where patience alone changed nothing. How long will you gamble on a system that profits from your hope? This myth also masks the real game, power dynamics. While you wait for justice, others rewrite the rules, build alliances, and claim resources. Can justice ever catch up to such advantage? Or is it merely a story told to keep you obedient and distracted? What if your real power lies in rejecting this fairy tale? Ultimately, breaking free means facing the discomfort of a world that's not fair or moral, at least not in the ways you were taught to believe. It means seeking freedom not through passive virtue but through conscious strategy and self-empowerment. Will you continue to comfort yourself with illusions, or will you wake up and take control of your own destiny? The real dynamics, strategy versus morality. You slave away, loyal, obedient, convinced that virtue will be your shield. Meanwhile, others don't just work, they play the game with a brutal strategy. They form alliances, leverage influence, and bend the rules to their advantage. Have you ever wondered why some people succeed without the sweat on their brow? Is hard work really the currency of success, or is strategy the unseen power? Morality teaches you to keep your head down, obey orders, and play fair. But strategy ignores fairness. It's about outcomes, not intentions. Ask yourself, are you following a moral code that's designed to keep you small? Or could it be that those who break these moral rules are the ones reshaping the landscape, creating new rules while you remain a prisoner of outdated ethics? This isn't just cynicism, it's a cold reality Nietzsche exposed. The system rewards those who navigate its murky waters with cunning and calculation. The hard worker is applauded on stage, but the true winners pull strings from behind the curtain. Have you been applauded for your loyalty but overlooked when it came to promotion or reward? Why? Consider the psychological trap here. The faithful worker believes in fairness and earns self-respect through suffering. Yet the strategic player is fueled by ambition, pragmatism, and often ruthless choices. Which mindset leads to freedom? Which leads to invisible chains? Are you shackled by your own morality while others wield power without guilt? The irony is that strategy often looks like betrayal through the lens of morality. But who decides what is betrayal? Is it betrayal to protect your future, or is it naive to sacrifice your potential on the altar of obedience? What if your moral compass is tuned to a frequency that benefits others at your expense? Power dynamics thrive in this tension between strategy and morality. The system isn't broken. It's built to exploit moral workers and reward strategic players. Can you identify the invisible rules others have mastered? Are you still playing checkers while they are playing chess? What moves have you yet to learn? This chapter of your life demands a brutal question. Are you prepared to challenge your own beliefs? To evolve beyond blind loyalty and embrace a calculated approach to success? Nietzsche forces us to confront that morality is not the path to power, but a veil that keeps you compliant. Will you lift the veil? The real power lies not in working harder but in understanding the game itself. It's about strategy, alliances, and the courage to rewrite your rules. Will you remain a pawn, or will you become the player who shapes the board? The choice is yours, but be warned. The game plays on with or without your consent. The origin of the lie. Who benefits from your loyalty? Have you ever stopped to ask who truly profits from your endless loyalty and obedience? Nietzsche called this the great deception, a morality designed not to free, but to bind. The narrative that suffering ennobles you, that sacrifice is virtuous, is a tool crafted by those in power to keep you passive, but whose hands tighten these invisible chains. This moral code doesn't arise from innocence. It is forged in the interests of the dominant. By convincing you that pain is noble, the system pacifies your rage and thirst for justice. Do you realize that every time you endure injustice silently, you feed the very machine that exploits you? What price have you paid for this virtue? The idea that suffering is a gateway to virtue is comforting. It gives meaning to pain and discourages rebellion. But Nietzsche exposes this as a strategic lie, a slave morality that elevates weakness and keeps the strong in command. Are you clinging to a belief that serves you, or one that serves those who control the game? Consider the psychological grip of this deception. When you believe suffering is noble, you accept hardship without resistance. This mindset turns potential anger into resignation, creativity into compliance. Ask yourself, are you truly living or merely surviving as a cog in a system built to benefit others? Look around. Who are the real winners? They're not the ones wearing calloused hands or carrying heavy loads. They are those who manipulate beliefs, control narratives, and reap rewards far beyond their effort. How often do you question the stories you've been told about work, sacrifice, and reward? This lie benefits a specific few by ensuring the many remain distracted by moral illusions. Nietzsche's insight is brutal but liberating. Moral loyalty is a leash disguised as a halo. Are you willing to drop the halo and see the leash for what it is? What freedom might you claim if you did? The power of this lie is its invisibility. It dresses itself as righteousness, turning obedience into honor and suffering into glory. But beneath the surface, it's a strategy to preserve inequality. What if your greatest act of rebellion is simply to see through this illusion and refuse to play the victim? You are not destined to serve. You have the power to rewrite the story and reclaim your agency. Nietzsche challenges you to dismantle the moral lie and question who truly benefits from your sacrifice. The question remains, will you stay loyal to a myth, or will you break free and create your own truth? The choice for freedom. For too long, you've been told that working harder guarantees success, that suffering is noble and patience will be rewarded. But Nietzsche exposes this as a lie crafted to keep you trapped and obedient. Have you ever stopped to ask why the hardest workers often earn the least? Maybe it's because you're playing by rules designed to benefit others, not you. True freedom doesn't come from grinding more. It comes from understanding the invisible power dynamics at play. Are you willing to see the system for what it really is? To realize that loyalty and obedience might be your chains, not your keys? The moment you grasp this, you begin to break free. Imagine shifting your focus from exhausting effort to strategic action, building influence, control, and autonomy. This is the path Nietzsche points to. Not laziness or selfishness, but awakening. You must reject the comforting illusion of moral labor and start creating your own rules. So, what will you choose? To keep fighting a battle you can't win by the rules you were given? Or to rise above, learn the game, and claim the power that's rightfully yours? The first step is awareness, the next is action. If you're ready to challenge everything you've been told and take control of your life, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Here we uncover uncomfortable truths and explore how to live beyond the lies. Don't just work harder, work smarter, live freer.